Forgot that on the computer it's a wide screen. Hi, YouTube. I don't have anyone on YouTube really yet because this is my first live ever there. You see me trying to make this ring light work so persnickety. But that's gonna go. I already have another light going on for this, multidimensional. So, and that's mostly because the lighting in my room is trash. It's not really for vanity. It's more just for practicality because sometimes you play these cameras back and you're like, good God, shit looks terrible. I got my humidifier showing in the background. Good Lord, you're knowing all my secrets. Welcome. Thank you. Also love my hair. Questions in the question box. Ask your question. If you don't have a question and you just want to know the lay of the land, then you just put lay of the land or you put LOL. In case you don't know, now you know. If this ring light doesn't fucking work, I was just charging this bitch. It is such a lie. Put your questions in the question box. If you don't know a question, I always like to break the ice by sort of pulling a card for the occasion. So I will pull a card for this full moon in Leo. As you can see, I'm in all whites. I have a little makeup on my face because, the thing about Venus in Pisces and moon in Leo, it's like, if you're going to play the game, you might as well play, all in kind of thing. So the reason that I am fancier is because I was told that it reads publicly as more professional if you put more effort into your aesthetics. I like to do that anyway, but I'm not going to do it every day, and I'm certainly not going to put makeup on my face every day. But in this case, I will. So, are you listening to the podcast? Oh, yay. Okay, I've got so much love off of Moonbeaming. So thank you for everyone who's listened to that podcast about the chariot, because we're in the year of the chariot. Sarah is the homie. I know she just had a surgery, so ideally she'll be posting about it at some point. But she's wonderful, and I really enjoy talking to her. So if you're here from that, thank you for being here. Put your questions in the question bubble. Okay, I don't have any questions yet, guys. Guess I'm just going to stay here pretending like this thing is going to work when it's not. And I think at some point you just have to be okay with the fact that shit doesn't work. Okay, that's lesson number 1. I should have charged it earlier, but what can you do? So I'm going to pull some decks. Let's see who's going to participate. We have Postcards from the Liminal Space by Bakara Whitner and Christian Berry, and illustrated by Kaylee Christensen. So we're going to get into that deck. And then we also, obviously, in Black History Month, they're about to have some black decks. So we have Manzel's Tarot version 2. It's the holographic one. And for everyone arriving, thank you. Welcome. Please put your questions in the question box so that I am most likely to see them, because the chat moves very quickly, and I'm not looking up all the time. So help me out. Help yourself out. Cheers to you. Happy hour. At least it is where I am. So not sorry. I like to say spirits for spirit. So we also going to have Tarots of Gemstones and Crystals in the play. We're going to have Visions in the Liminal Space. What are we going to have? We're going to have African American Tarot stepping up. Okay, hold on. Lots of decks. Okay, Leo, more is more. Okay. We got the deck of character. We got Postcards in the Liminal Space. We got Visions in the Liminal Space. We got Manzel's Tarot number 2. We have the African American Tarot. And we have Guided by Spirit. Are there any more decks? Okay, that's everyone. That is everybody. Okay. So, questions in the question box, folks. You know how lives work, I hope. Don't be shy. You can ask for a lay of the land reading, and we'll just, see what the cards want to tell you. I always say assume nothing or assume the best. So if you've never had a reading before, don't be scared. I've given many first-time readings to people. It is a great great honor, and I take great pride in it, because everybody is their worst critic. And so 99% of the time when I give people a reading, they're like, oh my God, that wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. And I was like, why did you think it was going to be bad? First of all, why are you assuming the worst? I mean, I know why you're assuming the worst: nihilism, supremacy ideation, white cis heteropatriarchy, self-loathing. But outside of that, like, why are you assuming the worst? You know what I mean? Okay, folks. I have a question in the question box. We have a sacrificial lamb. Thank you for whoever put themselves first. Thank you for putting yourself first. All right, I'm just gonna plug this bitch in again in the event that it wants to work later because it is a nice light. Gonna fix this so I'm not showing anybody more than I want to. And we're about to get this full moon in Leo reading, which is tomorrow, by the way, but it's Friday tomorrow, so a bitch likes to get ahead. So, question numero un. Lay of the land. Okay, I got a lay of the land. Can I? There we go. Lay of the land for India. I'm glad you could make it, India. No, you didn't make it to the other one. Okay, so India wants lay of the land. Spirits and okay. Maybe I don't even have to finish the question because where there's a question, there's an answer. Okay, India. For you from the African American Tarot, we have, it is the Knight of Chalices. Look at that happy motherfucker. And for you, YouTube University, this is the Knight of Chalices in the African American Tarot. So we're in the court cards. So in the African American Tarot, when you're in the court cards, well, when you're in 10 and below, they usually have an image from, and maybe even in the Major Arcana, but I don't think so. There's an image from African American history, and then there's like an African reference, right? So there's like an African American history reference and then an African reference. In the court cards, of which the Knight of Chalices is, there is none of that. It's just the Africanness, it's just the root. And with the knights, it's all dealing with our honor, our reputation, representing our character, right? Because the knight's performance outside in the world, in the public eye, is what, just sort of bolsters or weakens the reputation of the royal family. But the way that the knight acts, whether in the public eye or not, is their character. And that also represents, right? Because there's no time that someone in that position is not representing their country or their nation, in that case, their empire. I believe cups is the suit of, I don't believe this, but cups is the suit of water. I just know this. I believe it and I know it. Is the suit of water, the suit of emotions, the suit of emotional intelligence, the suit of creativity, the suit of one-on-one relationships, and the suit of like liquids in the body, right? So I always say blood, semen, urine, vaginal secretion, all those things belong to the cups to me. So also the health of those things. And with the Knight of Chalices, so, I always think of the Knight of Chalices as here for a real time, not for a long time. And so they wear their heart on their sleeve and they're very transparent about their feelings and what they desire. And they're willing to say that out front. But whether they are going to commit to that statement or whether it's literally just how they feel in the moment or they're honest in the moment, but they're not sure yet who they are because the knight's on the way to the king, right? When we get to the King of Cups, the King of Chalices, we're dealing with someone who has been transparent enough and been sincere enough that they finally understand what it is that they need. The knight doesn't yet know what they need, but they're honest about what they want. And so, the best thing, I like to say this a lot, and you would know this, but like the most selfless thing that you can do for other people is to be yourself, because by being yourself, you're giving them all the information that you can give them for them to make an informed decision about whether you are their people or not, or whether they prefer you or whether they like you. And so there's honor in this card, right? Because this person isn't lying. They just don't know who they are in a way that they feel that they can promise for. And so they're not going to promise you the year, but they can promise you the day, right? So here for a real time, not a long time. We see the bunny though, okay? And we are in the year of the rabbit. So this is also giving me a sense that like I'm born in the year of the rabbit, so it's also my personal animal totem. But I would say that with the bunny and in February with this Lunar New Year that just happened, and like the good fortune and the flexibility and sort of willingness. Yes, you can, of course. So you can also just put your question in the question box so that I can have it in case the chat goes up. But with this, I'm going to say that, where your intuition guides you this next month, you should really follow because the rabbit's not just, I think about the rabbit in Alice in Wonderland, right? Strange on the street, late with a pocket watch and a vest, late for an important date. And so you follow the rabbit. So you're following your instinct, you're following your intuition, and you're trusting that it's going to lead you to a good place. And you're trusting that because you know that existence co-signed you into an infinity contract and it has nothing against you. And therefore, you have every right to exist. And by existing, it supports you in your positive, neutral, and negative beliefs. And so you follow your instinct and your intuition because you either expect nothing or you expect the best. You don't expect the worst because in a negatively polarized world like we're in, that's nihilistic and supremacy ideationist and white society patriarchal, et cetera, like there's negativity in abundance, right? Like you don't need to bring your own negativity to the party. If you need to have a negative experience, trust and believe that it'll find you because humanity has invested to the point that negativity is out here finding everybody. Okay. So in that case, you just act on your neutral beliefs, your neutral instincts, your positive beliefs, your positive instincts, your sincere feelings of the moment. You account for the you of now. You pass the baton to a future version of you that feels validated in being honest about how they feel in their right now because you put the work in and practiced that and built the muscle that taught them that they could tell their truth and not die. And whatever died from them telling their truth wasn't really living for them anyway. That kind of thing. So I say follow the instinct, follow the fortune, trust your instincts, have a good time always, be sincere, and don't stay longer than you actually want to stay. You know what I mean? But feel free to like what you like. Like what you like. All right. Next, but not last, anybody, if you want to ask something, just please stick your question in the question box. Because if you've put it in the chat, it's gone. I can't see it. Next we have, yay, I'm glad it helped. Ooh, okay. I know this for real. You're welcome, India. Okay. So Nina wants a love reading. From what deck does Nina need this read? Okay. You got Guided by Spirit, the Oracle deck by the homie Asia Dashur, illustrated by Asia's husband, Justin. Yeah, I was like, I know I didn't say that wrong. All right. Nina wants to know what Nina needs to know about love overall. Okay, thank you. I'll answer your question if I can find it. I hope you put it in the chat. I bet. All right, what does Nina need to know? Okay, first of all, there's lots of shuffles here, so that's already telling me that, like, ooh, experiential knowledge is valid, right? Like, you don't need to be in a rush to a destination here. You're supposed to feel your way through it. It's supposed to be multifaceted and multi-layered, and there's not a right answer here. It's really up to how you feel, right? Like, love is distinctly up to how you feel. And knowing that you can feel differently at all times, and that unconditional love means that the love survives conditions of any kind. Because if there's no conditions, how do you know the love's unconditional? Okay. So from Guided by Spirit, you got Nina. Ooh, Charles Waters, which in Guided by Spirit, there's general cards and then there's guides of Asia. And Charles Waters is one of those guides. So let me read out of the book because they're not my guides. And then I'll add to that whatever I feel inspired to say other than what I already said, but you saw the waters, right? So it's giving like go with the flow, respond to the circumstances at hand, meaning there is no history, right? There are versions of you that have different pasts, and then there's this version of you that has whatever you identify with in the moment. So you can always change your mind, and you can always not go back, but return to the question at hand and answer it differently based on the version of you that you are in the moment. Hi. Oh, very nice. Hello. Hi, restaurateurs. I hope the food is delicious. If you want to leave a question in the question box, either of you, I mean, I assume you're not alone, but or just you, I can answer it and put it up, and you can keep it later in case your meal comes. And that goes for anyone. If you can't stay the whole time, please just put your question in the question box and I will get to it and you can come back and peep it out. And now the questions are going on the screen, so you should know when it is yours. Okay, Charles Waters. Let us take a moment together in stillness. It is you and I. I am looking directly into your heart. Surrender to the moment you are in, the beauty of silence, the sweetness of simply being. You cannot strive to live 2 steps ahead of the present. Touch your face, look into your own eyes. What do you see? Sway back and forth and laugh to no one but yourself. This is the way of water. This is the connection to your own inner tides. I am your guide of presence. What has the tide brought towards you? What needs to be washed away? So, yes, the beauty of what needs to be washed away is if, like, you can't always get what you want, but you will get what you need, right? So if something needs to be washed away, rest assured, you will not hold back the tide, motherfucker. Like, if it's gonna be gone, the evidence of that is that it will be gone. So it's not like you have to do work to figure it out. Like in Taoism, they say, "Can you be still and allow the answer to rise by itself?" They ask you, can you sit in the mud until it clears? Which basically is like, can you be in your own discomfort until you understand what it is? And also, do you have to rush to the answer, or can you just trust that it's arriving all the time and that you don't need to be on the road to it? If it is you, you will encounter it. There's no way around that. So, and I also think, and I think this is important to say, because obviously social conditioning, obviously supremacy ideation, blah blah, but also you feel the way that you feel. So sometimes some people will be like, why do I care about this motherfucker? Bitch, because you care. Okay, like, why are you, emotions aren't nothing. Like, like they are their own intelligence. So when your feelings are telling you something, it's not because it's a lie. And usually if your feelings are lying, it's lying to you. It's because your intellect is in there, not minding its own motherfucking business, trying to theorize and decide all what the feelings mean. But feelings are just feelings. So like, you love because you love, you cry, you're sad because you're sad. And there are of course things that stimulate that. But like, when people are like, oh my God, why do I love this person? Because you're loving. How else is it supposed to work? And like, also, how do you find unconditional love if at the first sign of conditions, whether from yourself or others, you shut your shit off? So it's also like, you get to be unsure, you get to be messy, you get to be imperfect, you get to be getting to know. And that's all a part of unconditional love. It's not like, I am unconditionally loving, so now everything is perfect for me. You're still gonna not like shit, but the things that you're not gonna like, you're gonna not like in an unconditionally loving way, which is to say, that's not for me, so I'm gonna let it go where it is or go away from me, and I'm gonna come back to myself and be attentive to myself. So hopefully that helps. Thank you, Charles Waters. Waters, probably maybe you should go to the waters. Are you around spa, beach, water? Can you do that? You should do that. All right, next question. Questions in the question box, homies, homettes, home these. Drink break. Answering questions in the question box. Once I get through the question box, then I'll go through the chat and I'll see if there's anything I missed, okay? Ooh, why'd they tell me I have 2 questions when I got 4? They lie. Ooh. I like the romance questions that we're getting. Oh, I realize I'm probably picking from the you're so welcome, Nina. Oh, I love you. Good. Crying. Bashar says crying is shedding negative beliefs. And that's negative from good and bad, right? When you cry because you never believe something could be so good, that's the high end of a negative belief. When you're crying because you didn't realize it could be so bad, that's the low end of the negative belief. But either way, crying is shedding negative beliefs. Okay, Q. Period. Okay. So Q, I'm gonna do a reading for you and Eric about what to focus on as a couple this year, which I think is such a wonderful question to ask. Ooh, and you know what I also like about this? You each are gonna get a card, but it's a card from different decks and they're cousin decks. Shut the fuck up. Postcards from the liminal space for one of you. I don't know who yet. And for the other of you, visions in the liminal space. These are literally decks by the same people. And I bought them both because they go hard. If you're just arriving, questions in the question box. Also, I'm totally forgetting to put my fucking this is why people have assistance for this shit. Give me a second because I totally forgot. I was like, oh, it's for donations, but I'm not giving anyone any of my fucking information. There you go. Can I pin that? Instagram is so inconsistent. I can't even. Okay. So for Q, we have postcards in the liminal space. And for Eric, we have visions from the liminal space. So what does Q need to know about themselves and about Eric and what to focus on as a couple? All right. So your card just came straight out. Okay. Now what does Eric need to know about Q and about themselves? So let's look at these guys. So both of yours came off the top, so I think that's kind of interesting, meaning like sometimes I shuffle and a card will flip out. I try to pin it, but it won't let me. Sometimes Instagram won't like give everybody the same permissions. This shit is some bullshit, but I will repeat it. So I can add a moderator? Bitch, what? Okay, next time I'm gonna fuck this up the right way. I'm gonna pin it though. So I'm not pin it, but I'm gonna repost it. So cute. Both you and Eric's cards came off the top, and I think that means that as long as you address the things when they're there, and not only don't let them fester, but also like don't build a case. I remembered this. I had a disagreement with a friend, and I had to call them, and I'm good about that. Like I'm a good person in a conflict because I will address things, and I do want to understand. At the end of the day, it's not so important that I'm right. It's important that I understand my friends, because what am I doing being your friend if I don't understand you? But in the throes of the disagreement, because it was so frustrating, there was a part of me that was like, whatever, like motherfuckers don't want to know things or they don't want to understand. And like, but then I realized if it were me and like I wasn't getting something or I wasn't understanding something, I would hope that the people who love me would be compassionate enough and courageous enough to remember that about me as they pull me out of my own asshole. Okay. So for that reason, when you address it off the top and not build a case, it's because you realize, oh, right, I chose this relationship. I'm with somebody I love. I'm supposed to approach this relationship as if it's somebody I love, instead of acting like I'm going to battle with an enemy of which I need to win the war. So that's off the top because the cards were off the top. Q, your card is come back down to earth. Okay. And Eric, your card is down in the river. I love this for you in a way. Okay, so one of us spends a lot of time in the cosmos and the stars, and one of us spends a lot of time in the river near the dirt. And so I think what's kind of interesting, so whenever I see this card, I think about the scene in the Johnny Cash movie with Reese Witherspoon and Joaquin Phoenix, when they're trying to get him sober and her family like takes him to her farm and they have shotguns on the premises and they're literally threaten to shoot his drug dealers on site when they show up to try and sell him drugs. And so Johnny Cash is like strung out because he can't get his fix, and he's upset. So he's down by the river with this tractor. He doesn't know shit about the country, so he's fucking this tractor up. And June's mom is like, yeah, hi. And then June's mom is like, you know, you need to go down there and basically tell this fool to stop fucking up my tractor. But she's like, you need to go down there and address that. And June's like, I don't want to go down there. And her mom tells her, you're already down there. So I think that with this card, it's like, you know why you love, like, you know why you love what you love. So why deny yourself the expression and the experience of fully immersing yourself in that? And like, why deny yourself the opportunity to understand from looking up, not only from looking up, but from like the spectrum of relationship, like knowing that each place is good, right? Basically what I'm saying is, this is not a better place than this, okay? And this is not a better place than this. So the point is that you come to the center, right? You into the gravitational field, you know, you guys come to a place of equilibrium. That includes maybe planning check-ins if you don't already, right? Like every new moon, every full moon, every last day of the month, every Ides of the month, you know, every 15th of the month or the middle, whatever day that is, whatever first of the month, we're going to check in and see if there's anything that we've been holding or thinking about that we need to address as a couple. And that can be romantically, familially, personally, professionally, physically. It can be any of those things. But for here, if this is encouraging you to come back down to earth, and this is saying where down to earth you're coming to, right? It's also giving me a lot of like water, earth, air, and air energy, right? So I guess that also means like sort of keep that fire aspect out of the relationship, except where it's intended, right? Which is like, we're gonna allow ourselves to playfully debate in this arena, or we're going to have this BDSM thing where we do this specifically for this, or we're going to have role play where I get to boss you around and for an hour a week, you know, whatever that might be. Purposefully put where your vices are and play with them in a way that allows them expression, but also that still respects each other, basically. I don't know if you guys are eating or if you got this, but you'll have it later. These are your cards for YouTube University. These are their cards down to come back down to earth and down in the river. Also might mean that Eric is in a time where he requires a little bit more support than maybe he's able to articulate. And so that you, with all that perspective, can come down and sort of create some buoyancy and some lightness and some lightening, helping him lighten up on himself. Hope that helps. Love to y'all. Okay, so I'm going to go to the bottom for once because I think I've been fucking this up for a minute. Okay. All right. Oh, you just graduated from college and was wondering what's coming up for me in terms of job opportunities. Okay. Well, I feel like there was more to that question. Okay. All right. I got it. Job opportunities. Congratulations for graduating. That's no easy thing to do, especially because you lived through quarantine. So now it wants to work. Do you see this? All right. It makes a world's difference. I mean, I can even see it on my face. So, ooh, you get places. Hi. Put your questions in the question box if you have a Melody. Ooh, your card just flipped over, Melody. All right, this answer might be a little like frustrating for you. Oh, you got two cards. Okay, your card that flipped over is Maze. Okay, and then the card that just kind of attached to my finger and came off the top, Dumpster. Okay, let's put these together because this is from the deck of character. The deck of characters is broken into places, tools, and characters, and you got two places. Okay, so that makes me want to say what one of my teachers says, which is location is a quality of a thing. Change the location and you change the thing. So you of this job and you of that job, or you of this city and you of that city are different versions of you, and the environment itself will bring out different aspects of your character and different qualities in you. So I think that means that it's important to go somewhere where you feel like you have regard or respect or admiration for the people that you're working with. Obviously, it's nice to make money and it's nice to have a title, but if you loathe going into work every day, those things will depreciate in value very quickly. So it's also really important that you are in a community of people that you feel can mentor you, teach you something, support you, learn you, any of those things. And then when we see maze and dumpster, it makes me think of Pac-Man, right? Like when you are going through the maze of life, you want to avoid the things that are obviously trash. Okay. So when you're getting job offers, I would suggest to not act out of a sense of desperation. I understand why there is desperation in late stage capitalism, but that also helps late stage capitalism thrive in creating more desperation. So, just as I advised a previous person, it really helps to slow down, to trust existence, to expect nothing or to expect the best, and know that if someone makes you like a really terrible job offer, you don't have to take that, even if it seems like aren't sure if you're going to get another one or if you're going to find another job that you actually want to apply to. Um, it's not either or. It's not that you never get a job or you have to do a job that you hate. So, but you have to believe that. If you don't believe that, then you're not going to be patient enough to experience that reality because you're going to take something that you already know isn't good for you. So trust your instincts, yes, but also avoid what is obviously trash, what is obviously a dumpster fire. If people shit stinks, let that be true. And then recognize that like it's not going to be the last job you have. So also recognize that you're just like working through this maze of, the rat race, let's call it. And so it will be one job of many. And it's more important about the trajectory if you have one for yourself and what jobs will support that trajectory if you have a plan like that. And if you don't have a trajectory, then it's about what jobs actually support you now and make you feel comfortable or appreciated or in a position like you're going to learn something. Because obviously all those jobs will appreciate into other skills and into promotions and stuff like that. So I hope that helps your question, Melody. Okay, Seta. General question from good general guidance from Spirit. Okay. Seta. Okay. For you, Seta, you get postcards from the liminal space. So what can we tell Seta about? Ooh. I'd laugh if you got the same card, but sometimes you do. Ooh, a vision. Okay. We see Scorpio, right? We see it's a new moon, not a full moon. We also see that we're in the desert, so it's giving me California vibes. Okay, or I mean, that's not the only desert. Obviously, also Lebanon has desert. But for this, if you're not writing down your dreaming, you're very welcome. If you're not writing down your dreaming right now, I would. And that includes your daydreams, right? Because a vision can be a waking dream. It can be something that comes to you during the shower. It can be something that comes to you in those, 5-10 minutes before you pass out in the bed or on the couch or wherever you might be. And with the vision speaking to you, and for you YouTubers, I think that you will get the message directly. And actually, Tatiana Tarot was just talking about this because I was looking at her little YouTube because she does forecasts for the week on YouTube, and she was saying, right now it's a time of trusting that your guidance is all around you and that you're going to get the message that you need to get. So I'm validating that you will know it when you see it, but I'm also encouraging you to track your dreaming, waking dream, sleeping dream. And that can be written. It can be waking up and leaving a voice note. It could be notes in your phone. I have copious notes in my phone that I reference with different titles, right? Like names to remember, things to remember, creative ideas, book ideas, random quotes, like I have all kinds of lists like that. And I refer to them when I need them. So the vision may not be something that is immediately going to come to fruition or to manifest, but it could be a long form vision. And and it being desert environment does give me sort of like the long landscape, in a Western, that cinematography is always that big open landscape, that big perspective. But with this particularly, I think that the vision that's coming to you is something for you to download over the course of the year and to formulate and make a plan for. And that also gives me a sense that it's a business development and that it's something to help you sort of solidify your work, and that it's not going to be something that's going to be done overnight. I hope that helps. Okay, okay. We have a few more questions here. We're only at 35 minutes. I'm making very good time. If you have a question, you can put it in the question box. If you put it in the chat, once I'm done with the question box, I will go through the chat, but the chat goes very quickly. It's hard to track. So, love reading, career, travel, overall. Okay. Well, those are a lot of topics. So I guess we'll do overall. Lori, because that will answer what you need to hear. Out of those topics. You also get guided by spirit by the homie Asia. Okay. What does Lori need to know overall with specific interests in love, career, and travel? Okay. So for you, Lori, ooh, you got Monty Fire. Very cool. So Nina got Charles Water and you got Monty Fire. So again, this is a guide of Asia's. And I'm going to read from the book for you what it is, and then I'll add to that. And your card really flew out too. So I think that's an indication that what you need to know is that signs can be really subtle. You're not always going to be beat over the head with a sign. And so you have to be attentive so that you don't miss out on the sign that you're actually looking for. Sometimes we look to the skies, we think the clouds are going to part, some God voice is going to come booming down, and the sign is an ant on the ground. So it's really about that kind of observation. But let's see what Monty Fire has to say. Monty Fire. You're welcome, Sanyu. I am the voice that keeps you up at night, the itch beneath the skin, purpose yet to spark, but soon to hatch. I am the future pulling you towards that door you work so hard to ignore. The flame that ignites your passions and your dreams. My deepest desire is for you to set the world ablaze with your spirit, for you to ascend ever up, never down, or to the side. Life without movement is death. And to discount the call of the heart is to spit in the eye of the miracle that is your life. Yo, Monty Fire, come through with it. Reading that one more time because that's a word right there, okay? It says, life without movement is death. And to discount the call of your heart is to spit in the eye of the miracle that is your life, right? Like, don't invalidate your feelings because they're just trying to inform you. They're not trying to hold you hostage, and they're definitely not trying to punish you. Monty Fire says, I will not be silent. I am your warrior, standing tall before the setting sun, on fire for what is yet to come. Where is your fire? So, wherever you're feeling irritated or exacerbated, right? Like if it's love and you're like, why is that? I have not met the person who did it. Or if it's career and you're like, why have I not been recognized? Or if it's travel and you're like, why can't I afford to go anywhere? First of all, I'm reading the whole world for filth, including myself, because these are things I was complaining about earlier today. That being said, okay. What I like to tell my clients is you can't have a solution without a problem, right? There's nothing to solve for if there's not a problem. And therefore, the answer is in the question, the solution is in the problem. So, like when you have an inquiry about love or career or travel, it means that there's more to discover and there's more to know. Knowing that, and by that, and I want to emphasize that when I say there's more to discover and that there's more to know, I'm talking about you with you. There's more for you to know about how you love. There's more for you to know about your vocational calling and your professional aspirations. There's more for you to know about the world, which is why you feel called to these things. And sometimes we feel like because other people find it so much easier to access the things that are of value to us or that we think are of value to us, because obviously we're in a deficit of those things. So the desire for those things and the reality of those things can be very different. But like sometimes we see other people with the things that we wish for, and we assume that because they have something that we don't, that there's a deficit there. And I want to encourage you that like you belong to yourself. And of course you're enough, but being enough for yourself also means being your truest self. And if you are not being the version of yourself that you most prefer, if you're not doing the things that you most prefer to do, if you're not living a life that is reflective of the version of yourself that you most prefer to be, that's not enough for you. And so you have to focus on how you can support yourself in those ways, regardless of resources, right? Regardless of friends, it's a resource. Regardless of imagination, that's a resource. Regardless of money, that's a resource. Regardless of gifts, that's a resource, right? Regardless of an inheritance, that's a resource. But what can you do with the the desire and what you are able to do? And as far as you can go with that desire and what you're able to do, and then you let existence affirm you through positive synchronicity, allow you through neutral synchronicity, or deny you through negative synchronicity. And you allow that to happen so that you're in a position where you're using yourself, your life, your choices as a form of divination, and you're allowing existence to tell you whether you're in alignment or out of alignment by whether it affirms you, because when existence affirms you through positive synchronicity, it magnifies, it multiplies, it aligns, it opens up, it expands. When it allows you through neutral synchronicity, it simply gives you the room to make a choice. Nothing is overwhelmingly positive, overwhelmingly negative, but there's room to discover and to choose and to learn through osmosis. And then existence denies us through negative synchronicity. So repulsion, rejection, depletion, disintegration, destruction, separation, those are all signs of negative synchronicity. And that's just telling you that you're not in right timing for that intention and for that intention. So wherever you get hit with a negative synchronicity, I always suggest you find where existence is neutrally and positively affirming you, and you go where there is an abundance, right? Neutral and positive synchronicity being having enough or having more than enough. And then that will trickle over into what you don't have. So go where there is validation and support and joy in your life, and that will trickle over into the love, into the career, into the travel, which is, by the way, why I offered free readings today, because I was in all my feelings and I was like, whatever, like I love doing readings, so I'll just do that and I'll allow that joy to trickle over into whatever I do next. So I'm speaking from experience. I hope that helps, Lore. All right. Last but not least, in the chat box, and then I will go through the chat. And then if there's no more questions in the chat question box, then I will leave you all for your Thursday evening. Oh my God, yes, Fro. Wasn't really doing exactly what I wanted to do, but I'm not mad. Working with the new functional medicine. Any guidance on this new avenue to find answers? Let's see, for Christy. Okay, for Christy, you have a card from Gemstones and Tarot. Crystals, Gemstones, and Tarot. Working with a new functional medicine. Any guidance on this new avenue to find answers for Christy? Give me answers for Christy. Oh, okay, Christy. Your card, should you choose to accept it, is... Thank you for all the emojis. Ooh, the 9 of Wands. So, we were just talking about the wands the other day, Christy, so you already know. I think of it as how I see myself and my reputation in the world, how other people see me. Do people regard me as I regard myself? Do people appreciate me the way I appreciate myself? I always like to give this example because I think it's so tangible, but like when I have a low opinion of myself and the world has a high opinion of me, I am Whitney Houston. I am Robin Williams. I am Amy Winehouse. Okay. I'm Donny Hathaway. When I have a high opinion of myself and the world has a low opinion of me, I am Hitler, I am Trump, I am Kanye, okay? Oh, that's a mixed bag because obviously there's a lot of people who like questionable things. But the point is, the way that you see yourself and the way that you're received in the world should be equally yoked because that would mean that you know who you are. And that's your existential homework, right? To know who you are. That's what existence assigned you. It's assigned you yourself. That's the one job that you have. Oh, I keep forgetting to put my tip information. God damn. Next time I'm definitely going to have a moderator because this shit is like too much to do. Fuck. um, so what I'm going to say about this card though, boop, is with the Nine of Wands, I feel like, hmm, with the Nine of Wands, I feel like we're prepared to go it alone in a way that veers towards the negative. I actually don't think the Nine of Wands is negative. I think that there's reason that the person has taken a position of defense. I mean, it's fucking black tourmaline, okay? So it's like, I need protection. But, and that's not an invalid way of going about things, right? Like, even the new functional medicine, this can be like, I need this to work. Like I need it to work because if it doesn't work, then I'm adrift or I'm screwed or I'm not gonna have what I need to have. And that's not necessarily what the medicine is for, right? Like sometimes we are introduced to something just enough to recognize that it isn't for us for the long term, but that it served a purpose in sort of jump starting us or reorienting us or redirecting us or helping us remember what else there that we want to do for ourselves. So I think the Nine of Wands, it's not the Ten of Wands. It's not like I fully have to go it alone, but it's where you're standing in that inquiry and you're saying, okay, do I have the resources that I need? Or do I feel that I'm still depleted or unresourced or unsupported in some way? And if that's the case, is that because I actually am, right? Like, do I not have the community or the educators around me to fill in my ignorance? Or is it because I am anxious about the time that I'm going to have to spend being ignorant or being uncomfortable while I am learning the opposite? So, the funny thing about for me about stones, because I started before I did anything with cards, I read stones. And I had dreams of stones and I had all these interactions with stones that were completely unusual, like seeing stones and getting the name in the dream before I'd ever heard of the stone or ever read it anywhere. Things like that. And so, the funny thing about black tourmaline is like it is an absorbent stone and it's a protection stone. But to purchase a protection stone, one must assume that they require protection, right? So it's also a question about whether this is just a natural byproduct of your body adjusting to the new software of your consciousness awareness and just a natural process that your body has to go through at this point in time for this season, or whether or like I don't know why I'm saying your body, your life, what you're going through, or whether it's something that is symptomatic of a long-term and greater issue. But sometimes you just got to purge it. That could be um you know purging being comfortable about what you know, right? Like when you learn something new and you're an amateur again and you have to have that archetypal amateur experience. And it can also be um, just a moment of, especially around a full moon in Leo, like a moment of insecurity, right? So understand whether it's a temporary need or it's a long term need by not insisting that it's either and just actually wanting to get to know the modality and by learning about the modality, learn what you need to know because what I get from the cards and what a different reader gets from the cards are very different, and the only thing that differentiates our approach is our experiential knowledge and how we choose to read these things and experience these things. So even in the learning of the functional medicine, there's not like a right way to go about it. There's only the relationship that you actually have and the quality of that relationship. So when in doubt, improve the quality of the relationship with your education, knowledge, like a relationship with the thing itself, whether that means research or books or finding professionals or YouTube University or any of those things. So I hope that helps. Nine of Wands. Ah, okay, I see. Yes. And knowing that, like, maybe this will help you get to a place where then something else greater clicks. It's like sometimes I think we take medicine and we think it's forever medicine. But the point is to be well, right? And the point is also that your body is constantly changing. So I feel like while it's right, it's right. I was on a strict regimen when I was at the height of my inflammation. And now I can eat some of those things that I couldn't eat before because I took the time off to just appreciate that, my body couldn't fuck with those things at the moment. So that's something to experience and also to trust. Like you'll know when it's not working. And until then, there's no reason to believe that it won't work. So feel free to experience, yes, and dive in. Thank you. Oh, hello, my YouTube friend. If you have a question for the cards, you can ask me a question in the chat box, or you could put lay of the land if you just want to see what the cards have to tell you. Everyone, those were all my questions in the question box. So now I'm going to go on Instagram. So I'm going to go through the chat. I'm going to see if I missed anybody's questions. I'm going to answer them. And then I'm going to close this out because we're almost at an hour and I think that's a good amount of time. Okay. So Ivan wanted to know what's coming up ahead once I end with S. Thank you in advance. Oh, okay. What can Ivan expect when Ivan ends it with S? Oh, you can't make this thing up. Okay. So, what can you expect? What's coming up ahead when you end it? A whole alignment. You see that? This is the spell. It says 3333333. You're on a road. Everything is telling you this is the sign. This is the spell over here for YouTube University. This is Ivan's card from Postcards in the Liminal Space. To me, this card is really saying the more space you put between yourself and S, the more it will be apparent that you made the right choice. But sometimes we need perspective from the things that we're inundated in so that we understand what we weren't getting, right? So it's like you need to seek higher ground. That also means taking the high road. That means not only taking the high road with them, but taking the high road with yourself. It's like when you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, I'm not doing this with you again. Okay. Like we need to stop that. You and I have to live with what you do, so it's the conversation that you have with yourself about the behavior that you need in order to um, be sustainably happy, right? And that knowing that a moment's satisfaction is not the best that you can do. So if you end things with S, I think you will begin to see all the signs that tell you that you're headed in the right direction, which is away from what doesn't prefer you. And you know what doesn't prefer you because it doesn't regard you, right? People who actually care about you, once you tell them, this is who I am, these are my boundaries, this is what I care about, they're going to work towards that. Even if it's asking questions or calling you out on your shit, they're going to work towards you. I always like to say what I choose that chooses me. It's like this. There's no intellectualization here. It's all experience. It's all action. It's all response, call and response. Okay. But what I prefer that doesn't prefer me, taking me in the direction of what doesn't prefer me. Okay. Or what I prefer that doesn't know if it prefers me, which keeps me in stasis and keeps me not going in the direction of what prefers me. Or what I don't prefer that doesn't prefer me. Okay. Which is creating that natural space, that natural vacuum. Existence abhors a vacuum. So if you go away from what isn't preferring you, aka what isn't having regard for you, what isn't treating you the way that you want to be treated, then existence can't fill the gap at what doesn't prefer you. Now you're going all the way in the direction of what prefers you, and existence has to fill the gap all the way over here. So the point is to not chase after what isn't for you so that you're not given more negative synchronicity. You know what I mean? I hope that helps, Ivan. I know you had to pop out or in. Okay, I think I got everybody's questions. The hair is out. Thank you. All right, everybody. I think I got to you all. On YouTube, if you have a question. Oh my God. Hi, Lee. If you have a question for the cards or you want to just know the lay of the land, feel free to write it in the comments and I'll answer your question over here on YouTube. I have YouTube people, guys. It's my first YouTube live. I feel like really proud. And I got all the questions. Oh, I have one more in the question box for IG, so I'm going to answer that question and then I'll answer the question on YouTube. Absolutely. Okay. Okay. So Crescent Diamond Coach says, career, I have two simultaneous past businesses. Is this going to work for me? Define work. Okay. I always feel like when you ask spirit those questions, it's going to give you a cheeky answer. But let's see who wants to talk to you. Wait, what? A different deck is showing up. Oh, it's the Passages Oracle. Okay, this is Passages Oracle by Liliana Perez. Um, Very cool, homie. I love this deck. It's very cute. Oh, okay. um, so to answer your question, I have two simultaneous paths, businesses. Is this going to work for me? And your answer is wow, not spirit telling you to let go. Okay. I think that this is a prioritization card because I feel like first of all it's a broom, right? Like in witch lore you use brooms and you sweep in the direction to create a natural barrier or a natural defense, right? That can be from east to west or north to south depending on the hemisphere that you live in. But people traditionally, witches, use brooms to not only clean their space, to protect their space. So I feel like this is about protecting the dream by prioritizing what actually is the most supported right now. And that means that you don't have to do them simultaneously. It doesn't matter. Like I'm not saying you can't work on them simultaneously. There's a difference between working on things simultaneously and trying to make them work for you simultaneously, right? So if it's working for you, meaning like making you money, bringing you renown, that's different than okay, this thing I'm monetizing and this thing I'm building up so that I can eventually monetize it. Those are two different things. So the let it go is sort of like to me, because there's not a card like this in the deck, but to me, it's put it on the back burner. So whatever is having the least positive synchronicity, the thing that is having the least uh, alignment, support, expansion, magnification, multiplication, the thing that is least positively supported out of these two businesses is the thing that needs to go on the back burner in terms of making it work for you as a career. It doesn't mean you have to stop working on that thing. It doesn't mean that you can't stop enjoying the process of that thing. It just means that like just because you love something doesn't mean it's supposed to make you money. You know, I've been reading cards for 12 years, and for the first 5 years, I only read for myself and friends. And then when I bought the correct deck, which is the Herbal Tarot, for me, all of a sudden, then I started monetizing my readings because my readings reached a different level. But when I started monetizing, that was 5 years in. And that was 5 years after just loving and showing up for the cards because I enjoyed reading them, not with the expectation that they would make me money, but with the idea that that was a possibility. But first, I had to enjoy the activity itself, or else I was never going to get to 12 years. So the point is sort of like, don't stress yourself out trying to make something monetizable that's just supposed to make you happy and allow it to just educate you and make you happy. And then down the line, 1, 2, 5, 10 years, maybe it'll be monetizable, but it won't be monetizable if you don't enjoy it. And even if it is monetizable and you don't enjoy it, you'll be suffering. So it's really sort of like prioritizing based on how existence is showing up to respond to your desires: positive synchronicity, neutral synchronicity, or negative synchronicity. And if you weren't here for me breaking those down, I'm not going to repeat it, but you can go back a little bit because the person before you, I think I talked about that. So let it go, AKA put one of them on the back burner and just enjoy that for now while you figure out what is the most monetizable option. Hope that helps. Okay, Lee, for you, Lay of the Land. My first YouTube live reading. Don't go anywhere, guys, because the question might help you. And then I'm going to end the chat. Okay, Lee wants Lay of the Land. Oh, I know it. Oh, no, this one. Okay, for Lee, you get Manzel Bowman, Manzel's Tarot. Lay of the Land for you, Lee. Ooh. The Four of Cups, which I'm so grateful to have the privilege to talk about this card because I created a meme about this card, okay? Let me tell you the pop culture reference for this card. It is the Rock Man in the Never Ending Story, okay? At the end, right? Where he's like, these hands. these used to be such strong hands. He's like talking to Atreyu and stuff, and he's like basically speaking as if you're very welcome. He's basically speaking as if he he's got nothing to offer, and that he and almost as if he's done, like he's down for the count. So for the Four of Cups, I really like using that image of the Rock Man being like, these hands used to be such strong hands. Like, it's not quite Five of Cups. Five of Cups is Marlon Brando. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody. It's like the despair of really like not being dead, but being like, I could be though. It would be better if I was dead. So we don't want to get to the Five of Cups. We want to skip over the five to the six. But with the Four of Cups, you need to be careful that you're not undervaluing yourself. You need to be careful that you're not negating what you bring to the table. And you also need to be cautious of identifying a failure with an inability. Okay? Because when we have a failure, like I like to tell people, the etymology of fail means to stumble. It's a stumble. It's not to fall off a cliff, fall off a cliff into a crevice and never rise again, right? Like when you fail, it's not like to die and never be resurrected. It's literally to stumble. Like that's the etymology. So it's just a little thing. And the fact that you might fail at something at one point doesn't mean that you're incapable of doing that thing. And in Manzel's tarot specifically, it's a hand with an eye in it. So this to me, because in the traditional tarot, it's like a woman on a hill. She's looking at her little spilt cup. She's feeling very bad about herself, and then God has a hand with the fourth cup, and God is putting the hand out the clouds, and that's where all the cups came from, right? It came from existence. Existence gave you all that shit. But in this deck, what I like it because Menzel is not a tarot reader; he's just an artist. I like that the eye is in the hand, the third eye, because it's saying like this is where it begins and ends. Like if you have hands, because not everyone has hands, but if you have hands, then this is where the work is. And until you don't have hands or you don't have life, then you're not incapable of anything. You are infinitely capable, right? I wrote in my post today, I change, therefore I am. I grieve, therefore I love, therefore I exist, therefore I change. So change is what makes you limitless because at any moment you can just decide that you are a different version of yourself and that will shift all the dynamics around you. And the best way to decide that you're a different version of yourself is to always ask yourself, if I were the version of myself that I most prefer to be, how would that version of me respond to this? How would that version of me go about this? And then you're always doing things as close to the apex of your desires as you are capable of in the moment. And that means that you've done the absolute best that you could do, which is, by the way, all that you can do. But until you are in the ground or in the air, in the fire, in the water, and you've given your body back to the earth, you are capable. So when I get the Four of Cups, I always caution people back because we're in such a good place with the Three of the Cups, and then we have this tragic turn with the four and the five. So I don't want you to go to the five. I want you to go to the three, or I want you to skip over the five to the six. But know that just because you were incapable at one time doesn't mean that you are not still infinitely capable of changing that as long as you're willing to change. So be willing to change. And then know that the etymology of change means to bend, right? Or to turn. So it's also just a slight adjustment. Okay. I know we think of change as like, God, dimension shifting, right? But change is just a little turn, it's just a little bend, and fail is just a little stumble. It's all very easy to get over if we let ourselves get over it. So know and don't let anyone co-sign you undervaluing yourself either. This is when we ensure that we're around people who big us up and who lift us up. Because sometimes we're around people who help us stay small because they're projecting their own smallness. And I want you to know that you are infinite and limitless, and that anyone who tells you differently doesn't want you to be your best. So I hope that helps. If there are no other questions from YouTube University or from IGB, then we're at an hour and 5 minutes. I mean, technically, I started this at 5:56 in all fairness, even though I was supposed to start at 5:55, but I feel like that's a good time. So, my love to everybody who's been here. Thank you so much, Lee. I'm so glad you caught me. I'm going to spend more time on YouTube Live and build my audience over here. Oh, hi, homie. I see you just got in here. Do you want to ask me a question right before I go? Because I was about to end this live. And if you have a question, you can put it in the question box or you can ask it in the chat. You're so welcome, Lisa. Thank you. Oh, let me give you guys my little tip information. Should you choose to use it, it doesn't even matter if all you have is $1 because it is the something for something that is valuable. You want a lay of the land? Okay. All right. I got one more lay of the land. So go nowhere if you want to see someone else get read. This one is for Smong. Smonga. I don't know why I added an extra A there. Smonga. Wait, Smonga. I keep adding an extra A. I'm just checking on what deck wants to work with you. Ooh, for you, you got the Passages Oracle by Liliana Perez. So for your lay of the land question, Smanga. Oh, okay, I got 2 more questions. All right, you guys are gonna get to 2 out of me. I mean, I'm not gonna leave one question unanswered. What kind of person would I be? I'd be someone in a rush. Oh, what's the best Leo energy for a non-Leo? You got it, girl. Yes. What's the best Leo energy for a non-Leo? I just love that you asked it that way. Well, I was saying before when I started the chat that I put on a little makeup and I got my ring lights out and I did YouTube Live for the first time and IG Live because I decided, and this is very Moon and Leo and Venus and Pisces, I was like, you know what? If you're gonna play the game, then play. Okay. So I'm like, I know what the algorithm, I already knew. I'm like, whenever I show like my legs on the algorithm, all of a sudden it exposes my chat, like my stories to so many more people. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna play the game. I'm gonna get fancy. Apparently, the algorithm likes me better if I look fancier. So I was like, I'm gonna get fancy. I'm gonna put a picture in my story with my legs showing so that it plays up my story. So I think a big part of um, Leo is playing the game. You know, being center stage, allowing yourself to take on the role of being that bitch. So your card from Passages Oracle is okay, Smanga. Abundance. Do you see that? Oh, okay, legs. So for this, I think that one, for some reason I keep hearing more is more, right? More is more. So it's like perhaps we are in a bit of a windfall. We're in a time of sustenance and abundance. You know, we're in the harvest season of our work, and we're sort of, you know, that can be scary because when you're in the harvest season of your work, you're kind of like, oh my god, when is the other shoe going to drop? And should I be liking this good thing? Do I want to get used to this good thing? Because if I get used to the good thing, something bad could happen to me. And so there's all this intellectualizing around the fact that what you've been working towards, what you've been playing for, what you've been putting sweat in is actually delivering, as if you're not capable of meeting your own needs by doing the work. And I think that abundance is like, if you put the work in, you will have what you need, and you will also have what you were aiming for. And I think that, you know, we should squarely, and this just occurred to me, but like, I think that it's important to separate the meaning of abundance from resources, because sometimes, you know, people have, you know, obviously Jeff Bezos has a fucking lot of money, but I would not call him abundant because he is fundamentally a miserly, stingy, greedy motherfucker. So he does not have an abundant spirit. He does not have an abundant way of life because his entire model is based upon, one, obviously a pyramid scheme, but the extraction of other people's like resources, talents, skills in order to have his own, right? Whereas abundance is like everything is flourishing, bitch. Abundance isn't like being an oasis in the desert. That's called a refuge. Okay. Like, thank God I found this shit because I was gonna fucking die. Like, that's what an oasis is. But when we're talking abundance, we're like talking about, you know, selling water to a fish. We're talking about being in our element. We're talking about being around all the things that are reflective of us, and of who we are in our spirit. So with this card, I feel like, enjoy that, and know that, like, you're not in the desert anymore. Okay. You found your way to the shore. There was a boat. They brought you over to your favorite climate. I'm not going to assume everybody likes to be in the jungle. Okay. Some people like snow and shit. So abundance is whatever is abundant for you, but meaning like you're where you need to be. You've done the work. You put the time in. You're getting what you wanted because you put the work in, and you are capable. So good on you. That's the abundance card for YouTube University. And that is from Passages Oracle deck by the homie Liliana Perez. All right, last but not least, we have general guidance on work from Angel. Yes, outside of money, right? Because let me tell you, the only reason I travel around the world the way I do is because my friends love me so much that they won't let me stay in a hotel. And let me tell you, if I had to stay in a hotel, I wouldn't travel because I couldn't afford it. So the fact that I can go to Venice and I can go to London and I can go to Germany, I can go to Amsterdam and I can go to Portugal and I can have a roof over my head is because I have cared about people, and their way of showing me care is saying, please come back and like, don't worry about it. And if I didn't foster those relationships that had nothing to do with money, then I wouldn't be saving money by having those relationships. So like there are resources outside of money, and there's much abundance outside of money. That's something important that we should all know, because money is something we made up. You can't eat it, you can't drink it, and even if you burned it for fire, you would get high off the fumes, okay? Which is not necessarily a bad thing depending on who you are. Last but not least, Angel's general question about work. Okay, I really kind of am loving that Guided by Spirit by Asia. This deck has just really been showing up in the Year of the Chariot. So I guess Spirit is just, on the road with us. So general guidance for work for. That's your card. The past two people who before you got guides. It's called Guided by Spirit because Asia has archetypal messages, and then she has her own guides in the deck. Wait, let me make sure this is the right card. Oh, I love it. Okay. General guidance on work. Roots. Okay. So this is a good sign to me. It says that like this is a place that you can learn, and this is a place that you can grow. By the way, that does not mean that it is utopia. Okay. Because some of us, especially those of us who are accustomed to learning from, okay, reverse. Let me put it this way. In a negatively polarized society, we move from necessity, not from choice, right? So back against the wall, between a rock and the hard place, shit hits the fan. I got to do something. I got to move. I got to make an action, right? That's from negativity, because we're like, something bad has to happen, or the threat of worse has to happen for me to make a change. In a neutrally polarized society, we move from choice, not from necessity. So we say to ourselves, oh, okay, this isn't the worst relationship I've ever been in, but I already know we don't want the same things. So I'm going to end the relationship now before I hate seeing this motherfucker's face every day and I resent them as a human person, right? Or you could say, this isn't the worst job I've ever had, but like, I don't like anyone I work with. So instead of dragging my ass to work every day because it pays me a check, I'm going to find somewhere where I actually want to be. That's moving from neutrality, right? Not from necessity. That's moving from choice, not necessity. In a positively polarized world, we move from joy, not choice. So we say, oh my God, another day for me to make all the choices that I can make. And I'm going to make all the choices that I can make. And whatever choices I can't make, I'll make tomorrow. And if I can't make those choices, someone else will make them. And all the choices will get chosen. And there's nothing wrong in the world with me or with anybody. Okay. So that's mastery, right? That's like nail me to the cross. I'm going to be myself. Okay. That's ostracize me. I'm going to be myself. Because there's no circumstances outside of me that are going to keep me from being the version of myself that I know myself to be. This is important because with roots for your career, this could mean like you're learning under duress, but you're learning. Okay. And so if you happen to be working out of a negatively polarized mindset where you have constantly moved from necessity instead of choice, and you've always had negative motivations, now you're at a place where you're like, okay, I understand the environment, right? Like when I got on the chat, I was saying play the game. So it's like I know where I'm at, I know what environment that I'm in, and because I'm in this environment, I'm going to understand the rules of this environment. I'm going to understand the players of this environment, and I'm going to engage accordingly. So with the roots here, I think it's important that you see, and think about roots, right? Like where is there nourishment at the job? Where are there strong supportive structures for the roots to hold on to? Is there nourishment, as in where can you be hydrated and rejuvenated? And also, what's dead and brittle and needs to be cut off, because it's very much a part of like putting down roots, right? Which just means allowing yourself to grow over time. And that means grow down and grow up, because there's no point in having roots if you don't grow up. So basically, I'd say hunker down until there's no vertical or horizontal mobility. At the point that there is nowhere to grow and no way to grow and no direction in which you can find yourself being cultivated, that's when you cut, cut, cut ties. But until then, it's very much giving like dig in. And also don't get like bullied out of a job where you're actually good at what you do. You play the game. If people want to play rough, then you play rough to the extent that it actually makes sense for you. You have to play your game, your version of the game. I'm going to read what's in the book just because I did that for the other two people. And by the way, if you're new and you have a question, I can go another 15 minutes, so you can put your question in the question box. Or if you just want a lay of the land reading, then you can put LOL, which I always like because it's lol, but it's also lay of the land. So if you want to lay of the land reading, put it in the question box on IG or put it in the chat and I will get it to you. I will answer your questions and I'll pull a card on your behalf. Let me find roots in this book. This book is not in alphabetical order. So in case anyone has been looking at me like, why is she going through this book? So there's no order. They're just like randomly assigned. Watch, this should be the first thing in the motherfucker. All right. This feels very seasonal too right now. The roots. Yes. I mean, it is winter. We are creeping up from the shadows and from the shallows and from the dark. And coming into the spring, right? Here's roots. Okay. Says, there is a calmness that comes with age, a stability that is gifted by experience. Come and rest here. Place your hands deep within the earth. Meditate on what needs to be planted beneath the green grass. Everything cannot happen above the surface. There must be balance above and below. Are you grounded? Are you centered? Are you rooted? Which also says, like, is what makes you feel successful on the job validation from other people, or is it the confidence you get from doing the job itself? And in doing the job itself, do you feel like it is teaching you, right? Because the only way I get better at doing readings is by doing readings. And the evidence of my goodness with the readings is the fact that I return to the mat and I put myself out there. But my relationship with the cards is like this. It's from my head down to the cards, up to you and across to me. I'm not looking to you to do the reading. I can't even see you. So if I don't have a strong relationship with my cards, then I'm never going to improve. If I'm waiting all the time for people to just be like, that was so good, then I'm going to be stuck in constantly waiting for somebody to give me a response outside of myself to give me the confidence that I should have by doing. So if doing your job doesn't make you feel more confident at work, then just quit that bitch right now. Because it's not for you. Or, save up some money and then quit that motherfucker. I hope that helped you. All right, I got 4 lay of the lands and I got 1 question. Ooh, and now I have 4 people on YouTube University. Guys, this is my first YouTube live. If you have a question, you can put them in the comments and I will answer your question. I'm pulling a card for everybody. And if you don't have a question, you can just ask for the lay of the land and the cards will tell you what they want to tell you. So the order that this is going to go in is Lynette and then Paul and then Kelly and then Lisa. And assuming there are no more questions, then I'm going to close it out. So thank you everyone for being here. We're almost done. Worry not. All right, Lynette, lay of the land. Ooh. Oh, it might even be this one. It's this one. Okay, so for you, Lynette, I pulled from Visions in Liminal Space. It's an oracle deck, and your card is Eye for an Eye. Okay, I really like this card. I pulled this card. I was reading for real estate agents, and I read this card for somebody at the end of the night. And he looked at it like, and I was like, no, let's talk about it. Okay, so, you know, I think that this is a caution against um, ruthlessness. Okay. One of my teachers who's since passed and left the earth, he used to say that his definition of ruthlessness was to give to each thing only what it deserved. But if we have learned from a lot of ungenerous people, then when we give to each thing what we believe it deserves, we're going to be ungenerous. So with an eye for an eye, I feel like if you're around people who are a very petty or vindictive or combative, and you're responding to them in kind, that if this isn't your nature, you're going to lose an eye. Okay. Not everybody's meant to do this sort of thing. And also, when you're at a certain age, you mentor. So it's not about winning anymore. Because eye before an eye is about winning. It's about being the one with the most eyes, being the one who sees the most shit, right? Like, not because you see more, but because you made sure everybody else could see less. So with this, I feel like it's a caution for people who are getting pulled down into the sort of like youthful affairs of humanity to rise to the occasion and to be resilient and to allow themselves to um be wise, right? And if I always say it's better to be wise than to know. So what that means is like if somebody, this is even like a child who's acting a fool, right? Where you're like, let me tell you something. In this house on my phone when you call me, this is the way we're engaging. And if you can't do that, I'm gonna hang up on your face. And I'm gonna do that out of respect for you. Because if you don't know how to treat people, that's on me. And I always ask, whenever I meet someone who's just like atrocious, I'm like, who let you get here? Who did not check you along the way that you think it's acceptable to talk to me like this? Because if this is where you got, this means it can't be the first time. And that means there are several people along the way who either did not inform you the way you needed to be informed, which means that I'm about to stop this motherfucking train right now. So it's better to be wise than to know. And to be wise is to recognize that it's better to understand than to be right. So as long as you understand, you will be right. That's the only way to be right, is to understand. And by understand, I don't mean like accept everything they say or forgive everything they do. It's to understand why they do what they do. And once you understand why someone does what they do, you should not be triggered by them. When you see them acting a fool, you should just remove yourself so that they can do that shit with somebody else. Period. I'm glad that helps. All right, next we have Paul, then we have Kelly, then we have Lisa, and then we have Night Night. Okay, Paul. All right, for you, it's postcards from liminal space. Oh yeah, you're home. Good. I'm not done, and your guys' recording is a little in the middle there, which was great. You each got a card. Cue. So, Paul, your card is from Postcards from Liminal Space, and it is an equal but opposite reaction. Okay, so the thing you haven't tried yet, that's a thing to do, right? And sometimes people think, okay, the equal opposite reaction, an equal opposite reaction, but opposite reaction can mean like, okay, I have bent over backwards, I have pleaded, I have expressed, I have been angered, I have pleaded for this person to, respect me or love me the way that I want to be loved, treat me the way that I want to be treated. And it's been futile. So an equal but opposite reaction is like, you know what? I'm going to stop asking them for anything. I'm just going to stop rely upon them because they've made it clear that who I am is not somebody they're willing to support. So an equal opposite reaction is like, I'm going to do the one thing I haven't done, which is nothing. And by nothing, it's the same thing I was saying to someone earlier, I think Nina, where I was saying in Taoism, there's an expression which is like, can you be still until the answer arises by itself? And that's there to tell you, like, you don't have to do everything. You don't have to bend over backwards. You can just be yourself and exist, and the answers will come. So if you're trying to get to the bottom of something, or if you're trying to get to the destination, thinking that that's going to give you an answer, I would like to assure you that the journey is the answer. And if your day to day experience with the person or the job or the relationship or even with yourself is unpleasurable, then the destination will be unpleasurable too. So the point is to be attentive to your actions and see if you're actually getting the results from your actions that you intend, because there's a difference between intent and impact. And if your intent is not aligning with the impact, then that means that you have to do something else. So something that you're not doing, something opposite of what you're doing. And by the way, that means if you've been silent, to talk, right? The opposite of whatever you're doing. So I hope that helps, Paul. Oh, that's great. That's great. I think a lot of people benefit from the other people's messages, so I'm grateful for everyone. Okay, great. Yay, Paul. Okay, Kelly on YouTube. Let's see. Okay. Okay. So first of all, I want to express to you, Kelly, that we are our soulmate. Everyone's your soulmate. We're humanity. We're a species. Okay. Existence abhors a vacuum. So if anyone is missing, there's a problem, which is why it's so problematic that humanity just murders everybody because you're supposed to take up the space and time that you are, right? You're supposed to be yourself. Existence co-signs you. You are perfectly in alignment and good and loved by existence, regardless of whether any other human being appreciates you. And I think this is really important because yes, it's important to love someone, but unconditional love isn't defined by how much you love someone. How much you love someone is irrelevant if your love for them doesn't survive the conditions that they put you through. So unconditional love is defined by the conditions, because if your love doesn't survive the conditions, it is not unconditional. Okay. And that means that the love that you have with them isn't unconditional. It doesn't mean that you can't be unconditionally loving. It just means that you can't unconditionally love them because they won't let you. And look, it's people's prerogative. There are 8 billion people on earth. Nobody needs anybody's relationship. Your relationship is for you. So if on a day-to-day basis it's not bringing you any joy, that shit isn't for you, because existence did not sign you up for a joyless life. So if it's not working because it wasn't working for them, then they're not your person. And they're telling you they're not their person, that you're not their person by not choosing you. Because in the best of all possible worlds, whoever loves you is going to choose you enthusiastically, open-heartedly, willingly, um, actively, actually. And if they're not doing that, then even if they are the person for you, they're not the version of themselves that they need to be for the version of yourself that you are now. Therefore, unconditionally, whether they come back in 10 years or not and are for you, you're going to have to live your life, which means you're going to have to do the things that you enjoy doing, regardless of this person. Um, I don't think there's a waiting around. I understand if there are people involved, like sometimes people abandon more than one person, right? So it's like you could have a family, you could have agreements, but let me say it this way because I did pull you a card. We are the past lives of our future selves, okay? So decisions that you in the past made that you of the present have to answer for, that's the same thing that's true of decisions of you in the present that the future you has to answer for. This is true for him too. So maybe he made of maybe a younger version of himself made a decision that an older version of himself couldn't live with. And unconditionally loving someone means that has to be okay too. Now, there are commitments that we make and obligations. And if this person made children with you, there are commitments and obligations that they have with those children. You should definitely hold them to those commitments. But no one is required to love us. And not even our parents, not even our children. Okay. So if that person isn't going to willingly do it, I really don't want you to be pulling teeth, because you deserve better than that, period. And also, any children, that you're influencing deserve better than that example. And he deserves better than being able to just do whatever the fuck he wants without any consequences. Now, from the deck of character, I didn't even pull a card. Sorry, spirit was heavy with that. But like your tool from the deck of character is glasses, okay? So you need to take the roses out your eyes, okay? Compassion is good, but we also have our own personal existential vocational callings. We have our own purpose. You have your own meetings to make outside of this person. You have your own people that you agreed in your lifetime that you would meet and see and help and influence. And if you find yourself holding up and not wanting to be out in the world because somebody decided that they no longer had the capacity to do what you needed for them to do, you're going to deprive all these other people you made these agreements with of your company, of yourself, of your highest self, of your happiest self. So please take the time to grieve what is shocking. That you are fully supposed to do. And it's not going to be this binary clean thing where it's like I wasn't okay and now I'm okay. But it's more about allowing things to be what they are instead of living a life where you are constantly wishing that things were the way they were in the past. We're not going back to anywhere. But you can go forward. And going forward, you might want to start thinking about the kind of commitment you require from someone, even in the midst of an argument, that they can actually show up for you. So, like, if this person does come back, I pray that you have a list of behaviors, of changes that this person is going to need to implement in order to be able to be let back into your life. You know, my one of my teachers who's died says, "You don't need boundaries. You are a boundary." So when people trespass against you, you remove yourself. And if you don't remove yourself, then it's not a boundary, or at least it's not a strong enough boundary for you to keep. So whatever is, whatever you can't live with and you can't live without, that will make itself very clear. But with the glasses here, it's like you need to see things for what they are and not get lost in the sauce, because the sauce ain't gonna help you. Okay. The sauce doesn't raise children. Okay. The sauce doesn't get you out of depression. The sauce doesn't bathe you. So allow what is to support you, because existence wouldn't take something out of your life if it wasn't going to put something that was more aligned for you. Existence abhors a vacuum. So when something leaves, something has to enter. But you need to see this, you need to see what it is and not be in denial. And denial is tricky, right? It's a complete system. People who are in denial are also in denial about being in denial. The only way you can stop denial is by choosing to stop it. So it's an infinite loop. You have to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, we need to stop this shit now. And whenever you can get to that point, I encourage you to. Until then, wail, cry, moan, be mad, go through all the steps of grievances, but don't beg someone who doesn't want to be with you to be with you. And if they don't have the capacity, you're going to be begging them for the rest of your life. So you don't have to do that. And they did you a favor, personally, in my opinion. Sorry, not sorry. Love to you, support and compassion, because I have definitely been in some fucked up situations. But past those situations, I know that I dodged a bullet. So you were dodging right now, and I pray for your survival. All right. Yay. Okay, last but not least, I am reading for Lisa. All right, Lisa, you're my last one. You're very welcome, and thank you for the gorgeous comment. I want better for you. So if that's not him, fuck him. And not the way he wants to be fucked either. Okay, Lisa. What does Lisa need to know? Lay of the land for Lisa. And then I'm saying goodnight to you all, but I'm going to post this on YouTube and I'm going to post it on IG. So if you like the horizontal format, you can come over to my YouTube, which is Sanyu Estelle, just like on Instagram. And if you want to come on IG, you can see the vertical format. Okay, Lisa, your card from Visions in the Liminal Space for your lay of the land question is, and the shadows fell away. Wait, flee away. Sorry. And it says, until the day breaks and the shadows flee away. And it is a tombstone in a cemetery. I know that cemeteries can feel like a morbid symbol of culture. But my father is buried in Hollywood Forever Cemetery, which I call the the best unofficial park in Los Angeles. Like Hollywood Forever Cemetery is a beautiful, fucking stunning place. It's an amazing place to be. And it's a place of reflection. So I want you to take note that even though we're in a cemetery, the sun is beaming, the birds are flying. It's we're coming out of winter. Things are starting to flourish, right? We're seeing spring come back in. And with this one, it's like if you're not dead, then there's room to grow, there's room to change, there's room to have grace. Like you are not incapable of achieving the ends that you set out for until you don't have a body. So when you return the body, or when the body's comatose, when the body is incapable of doing what you need to do, that's when, you know, that's when the day breaks and the shadows flee away. But also, what's interesting about this is like, when someone transitions, I always like to say, I don't hold the crimes of the living against the dead. Once someone has died, even if they lived a, a garbage can life, right? Where you're like, wow, it was trash all through that. But like, that's literally the best they knew how to do. And it doesn't matter in like any Ifa, it doesn't matter what age someone is when they die. If someone dies before you and they're in your family, they're your elder, right? Like if a 2-year-old dies and you're 50, that 2-year-old is your elder. So I think what's also important about that is like once we die, the shadows do fall away. You return. I personally believe the body is in the spirit. So when you die, you return the body back to earth. Okay. Whatever has happened on earth stays on earth. Even for the people who have been launched into space with their ashes, the gravitational force of earth is so strong. Oh, wow, your mentor died today. Interesting. Okay. Well, that spirit's in the room, right? So when we return the body to earth and the spirit is able to review everything and see everything, the beauty of that is that you have all the perspective. There are no shadows, okay? There's nothing that you can't see. There's no time you can't visit. There's no moment in your life that you can't go and analyze from every moment. But what you can't do once you die is live your life. So this is an emphasis that like you ride your life until the wheels fall off. You live a full earth life. You do all the earth things. And when you return your body to earth, because earth collects that shit, it does not let you take it with you. Once you return your body to earth, you can reflect on everything. You can know all the answers. But the shadow is being an incarnate human learning through osmosis from a framework to framework perspective between their temples, living things in linear time, moment to moment. And that's what you're supposed to do. We're supposed to have shadow. We're supposed to have duality. We're supposed to have negativity, neutrality, and positivity on earth. And we're supposed to navigate our ways through those things. And we do that until the day we die. And on the day we die, everything is forgiven. Earth collects all its taxes, and people have to live in their ideas of us because we're no longer there to refute or deny or support. So if your mentor did the job that they came to do, they gave you the skills to support yourself. And if they did a masterful job, eventually, not only will you be able to support yourself, you'll be able to support others with the information your mentor gave to you. So don't mourn them, celebrate them. The day breaks, the shadows fleet away. It's nothing but vision up there for them. It's nothing but perspective. It's nothing but the ability to be present. So call on them, put them on the altar space, you know, light a candle for them, put their favorite food on the altar every now and then, and know that they're very much with you and that they gave you the skill set to do the same. So enjoy the day to day, celebrate their life, visit them. And don't be surprised if a little bit later in the game, I'm saying like 30 years down the line, if you can literally perceive spirit physically, tangibly, and have a conversation with them. But right now, we're still working through a lot of things in humanity. So we're not quite at that level. But they're in good hands because they're in existence. they're not in any hands anymore. So they're good and they want you to be good too. That was a beautiful question and way to end. So thank you everybody for being here. I'm going to post these things. Lots of questions and cards pulled for people, relationship questions, work questions, existential life questions that can apply to you, even if it wasn't your question. So I hope that you find your way back to this. And let me put my little tip things one more time because I'm so bad at that. Please screenshot it. Please donate what you can if you got anything out of this. And you know what? I'm going to have to figure this life out because next time I'm doing this, I'm going to have a moderator so I don't have to do this shit. But thank you everybody for being here so much. Over here on YouTube, my oh, I have it copied. I love myself. I love myself. There you go. Love you. Happy full moon tomorrow. It's in Leo. If people are in their feelings, I say you give them a wide berth, okay? You do not need to fight. No fights. Let's be clear. The lion is not the one who fights the fights. It's the lioness that fights the fights, and Leo is a lion, not a lioness. So unless you ready, don't start no fights. Okay. Bye. I love you all. Toodaloos.